Okay, part 2 of section 2.5 deals with still using formulas, but not plugging in values for the variable, but rather being able to solve for a specific variable. Okay, this skill will help you out tremendously when you go to your future algebra classes. Okay, so the directions just say solve for the indicated variable. A is equal to L times W, that's our area formula for a square. It says for W. So this means I want to rearrange the formula so that W is by itself. Okay, so how do I get W by itself? Look at the operation that's here. I have A equals L times W. Because it's multiplication, I would have to divide by L. L's divide out. That leaves W by itself, so W equals A over L. Sometimes it's helpful to be able to rearrange a formula. Just say if I knew the area and I knew the length, this formula would help me by just being able to plug those in and divide to get the width. Okay, so on these problems, you're not going to be getting a numerical answer. You would just simply type in W equals A over L as your solution. Okay, number 9 says C equals pi times D. This is actually the circumference formula of a circle, which is the same thing as perimeter. Circumference equals pi times the diameter of the circle. But it says solve it for D. It's just like number 8. Okay, this means pi times D. So how do I get D by itself? Well, because this is multiplication, I do the opposite operation, which is divide. So the pi's divide out, D equals C over pi. So this is what you would type in as your answer. You're just rearranging the formula, basically. Number 10 is our distance formula again. D equals R times T. If I want to solve it for R, D equals R times T. So again, to get T by itself, I'm going to have to divide by this R on both sides. That makes the R's divide out, so T equals D over R. And that would be my new formula. Okay, number 11, we haven't seen this formula before on any of the problems. It's a volume formula, which says volume equals length times width times height. But what I want you to see is that times, okay, V equals L times W times H. Okay, it says to solve it for L. Well, if this is all multiplication, to get L by itself, I'm going to divide by W and H. We could divide by both of those variables. But whatever I do to one side, have to do to the other. So W divides out, H divides out, just L is left. L equals V over W times H. And so when you type it in the computer, you would just have to put V over WH. You don't have to actually put a multiplication dot between those two. Number 12 is actually another perimeter formula. It says P equals A plus B plus C, and we want to solve it for B. Okay, this one's a little different. I'm not going to be dividing. Okay, if I want B by itself, because these are all separated by this plus sign, I can't divide. Okay, I would just want to move those over, like we move our variables over in the other equations. So I already have a P. I want to just have B by itself. So if I move A over the equal sign, it's going to make it a negative A. If I move C over the equal sign, it's going to make it a negative C. So, make sure you kind of pay attention to the difference between when would you divide and when would you just move those variables over. You only divide if these are being multiplied. Okay, so this is my answer for number 12. But let me show you just to make sure. What if the formula had been P equals ABC? A times B times C. Then if I wanted to solve for B, I would have to divide by A and C. And so B would equal P over AC. But because it was addition over here, I was able to move those over and not divide. Okay? Number 13, this is our perimeter of a rectangle. Again, solve it for W. P equals 2 times L plus 2 times W. Well, first we've got to get 2W by itself. So that's going to mean bringing the 2L over. That's going to make it a negative. And then how do I get W by itself? Well, if it's multiplication, 2 times W, then I can divide. Everything gets divided by 2. Okay, notice I just put all of that divided by 2. So I would have P minus 2L all over 2 is equal to W, because then my 2's would cancel there. So this is my answer. That's my solution that I would type in.